Hello everyone and welcome to the FM show. On this week's episode, we show you how to perfect pre-season. Do you go abroad? Do you stay at home? Do you work the players physically or focus on ball work? Let's get started. Welcome to the FM show. I'm Tony Jameson, and joining me as always is RDF Tactics and producer Steve. Now, as you probably are all aware now, we've moved. We're in a new place. You can find us at the FM Show Pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We've got a Discord server. And of course, you want to be searching the FM Show wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you redirect all your feeds. Give us a follow. And if that's not enough, you can also join the squad and become a member of our Patreon, where you will be getting exclusive content, just like people like David Fleming, Ryan Todd, Raggio, Kristen Leroux, and Brian Shea. They've all joined the squad this week, and of course, we appreciate their support. Aaron, Steve, how are we?
I'm doing awesome. I am doing awesome. I hope everyone is A-OK too.
Yes, sure very well, Tony, and very well, thank you. I appreciate as well you outing my mother as a buyer of shonky shirts, was it you called? Episode 1. That was a new one. Which is counterfeit, by the way, people. That's
yeah. I was going to say, if some people are unsure about my northern dialect, shonky is another term for knockoff, or some would suggest counterfeit is also another word that, of course, would be there. But hey, you know what? Yeah. People love that clip, Steve. So that's how the stories start. You fall in love with a football club, and that seemed perfectly reasonable to share with the world, right?
Is it also? Was that just a 90s thing in terms of like those sort of short shirts, like the one to my left behind me, the blue and white 1860 Munich one, that were made of that sort of material that would literally power a power plant with the static electricity you would make from it. Is that what, like, a replica shirt slightly better now of the sort of?
I think so. Aaron's got a modern day one on now. That seems like an athlete could wear that, Aaron, without sort of like literally conducting most of the national grid.
This shirt, I love this shirt, but the worst thing about wearing it on camera is that you can't actually see the fine details, which is obviously the best part of the shirt for me personally.
What are they? What are the fine details?
It's just some weird, funky designs. I can't actually explain it. It's just weird lines going places.
Yeah, that really wasn't very good. I have no idea.
I mean, for the audio listeners, this is great radio. For anyone who's watching on YouTube, it's not actually much better, to be honest. It's not descriptive.
Distinctly mediocre either way, on all formats.
But of course, if you are watching, welcome on YouTube, by the way. It's fantastic to have you here. Obviously, last week we spoke about starting a new save, and we will, of course, mention that we are on YouTube. We've already had comments from people who have started new saves telling us how they got on. For example, Den Outlander says he's a huge fan of managing in Scandinavia, and in their first pre-season at Alta IF, it's going to be epic.
Oof. But also, the Discord is fairly active as well. Paddy9596, he says he always does Holland, but he's never considered the likes of Norway. So, I mean, Tony's recommended him to do a Scandinavian save, and he said this may be a shout.
A few more comments online as well. At bearded_child has said, unknown to me, my new save started recently. I'm doing something along the lines of what Aaron's doing in terms of winning titles with the team that have never won a top flight title in the top 5/6 European leagues. Nice little humble brag there as well from our bearded child. Just going to win some titles just against the odds. Anyway, thanks for getting in touch.
Those win stuff, not like Tony. I'm not going to do what Tony does and just, suffer a lot.
Look, you have your own audience, Tony. You do. Yeah, you have your own. You're an icon in your own world. Another comment on last week's show from Elliot, who's currently enjoying a save in Poland with Wisla Krakow, which is unintentionally turned into a Building a Nation game. There you go. Lovely stuff.
We will talk more about things like Build a Nation saves as the podcast goes on, because I know those are very popular saves, and some people might need a little bit of help in terms of setting those up and how you get them. So, of course, thank you, of course, for people getting in touch. Do let us know how those new saves are going. Aaron, I mean, I'm presuming you've started a new save last week. Steve, I'm guessing you didn't.
You are right.
Well, I don't even know when I actually started this most recent save. Like you said, I start too many. But we are currently at AFC Wimbledon, and you start in League 2. We've got the new updates. We're using a database file. So we start in League 2, and then we're currently in the Premier League. So we've done back-to-back promotions into the Premier League. We were predicted to finish, obviously, last in the Premier League. And now we finished 10th. So we're trying to build on that, which is actually fairly difficult because we've got this thing about DNA. So every player's got to have a certain level of aggression, bravery, work rate, teamwork, because we want to press, and stamina as well. And we really don't sign players that don't really fit the profile. So it's fun, but it's also difficult, and it gets a bit frustrating when you're scouting for hours and you just can't find that central midfielder.
I feel you on that one. And that, again, is an episode waiting to happen when you try and find that specific DNA for a club. And again, another humble brag, Steve. Did you notice that? Aaron was, I started off in League 2, but I'm now in the Premier League already.
Back to back.
And I can't find a new midfielder. Boo hoo hoo. Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're right, Tony. I haven't started a new save this week, but I have. I don't know. The past couple of seasons on my long stretch from Fiorentina, there's been a real sense of renewal. In January, for the second year in a row, a bunch of my players have just I've either wanted to sell them because they're getting to a certain age, the dreaded 29, 30 years of age, getting injured, etc., or they've wanted to leave. So I've ended up bringing in 6 players this January window and selling a few more. And so it does, in a way, feel like a new save because I'm looking at my squad and I'll be like, where have all these guys gone? So keeping the dressing room happy as well is something we should do in future, because certainly for my benefit, if no one else,
Yeah, again, that's an episode waiting to happen. I've experienced another thing, which again, I feel strange saying this is another episode waiting to happen, but it is this week, transfer deadline day. Now, we've discussed this amongst ourselves off camera. What do you do when you cash in on your best player? Now, it turns out I was cashing in on my best player with an hour to go of transfer deadline day.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I'm just going to leave that there.
Yeah, no
we'll
word.
come back to it at some point. Right? Feel free to get in touch with me and any of us here and suggest what may or may not have happened at that point and what you would have done in that situation. Would you have cashed in, or would you have held firm? Went, no, you're staying, and you're seeing the rest of this season out. So yeah, get in touch with us via any of the social media handles and let us know whether you'd have reacted in the same way that I would have done. But that's last week. That's last week, gentlemen. Okay, that's all taken care of. This week, brand new week, brand new episode. We're, of course, still looking at the start of the season. We're going to take things one step further. Obviously, we've picked our new save. We've picked our team pre-season. Now, this is the opportunity to embed philosophy, get your players up to speed physically, and if you're a big enough club, maybe go somewhere for a nice holiday. Okay? So, with that in mind, Steve, what is the first thing you're doing when you look at your side's pre-season? Now, Aaron, for the YouTube viewers, I'm going to pull up the screen right now so we can all see the game screen. Now, of course, for audio listeners, we will be as descriptive as we possibly can to explain where we go with regards to the buttons that we're clicking. But Steve, take it away. Tell me what you're doing day one.
So, first thing to say on this is that the way I've set the game up, generally speaking, is I will delegate, because the thing about pre-season is your training schedule, right? So I will delegate the training schedule to one of my members of staff. And actually, one thing we could potentially talk about in a minute is who the best member of staff to do that is. So as you can see here, on the Arsenal save, it's based on the recent update, it's Steve Round. Obviously, he is no longer at the club, but a member of your coaching staff will be in charge of your training schedule, which is my starting point for pre-season. I'll look at what my staff have done, and in a way which must be really annoying if it happens in real life, I'll then pick it apart. And I'll look at, for example, what we can see on the screen for the audio listeners is a lot of physical in the first couple of weeks. So before you get into your fixtures and your philosophy and the type of style you want to play, for me anyway, pre-season is about getting people the first couple of weeks hitting really hard physically. So you'll see a lot of physical training, a lot of blue horizontal bars. And you can look at other stuff too. You can look at strength and conditioning. I think they're grey, aren't they, in the physical profiling?
Yeah.
Use the first couple of weeks of I think it's June, isn't it, that it really starts. There we go. So it's endurance, resistance, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Build
in that basic level of fitness before you're having games that matter in terms of your tactical philosophy. So that's where I begin, and then beyond that, I'll start thinking about the teams that I play.
Okay, so again, for people who watch on YouTube and for people obviously listening at home, we are essentially trying to build up a training schedule as we go through this right now. Now, Aaron, can you go back to the first screen that we had on YouTube just as we started? Okay, now this, of course, you get this as one of your first messages, this pre-season preparation. Now, this is a screen that I've seen. Again, if you're playing mobile, you might see the screen, you might not. I can't confirm, but pre-season preparation, you can split it straight down. You can actually focus if you want to just delegate this all straight out and you don't want to get deep diving into training. Yeah, you can delegate your staff straight away to look at the specific style of training from the start. So we've got tactical, that sort of seems to be the focus. Now, what would you recommend for someone who just has no interest in doing training at all?
I would always go for tactical, mainly the reason being you might actually have a tactical idea already in your head, and if you don't want to be bothered with training, at least you will know using the tactical preseason schedules, people will be learning your tactics and trying to get familiar with your tactics, and that should put you in a good enough position to start the league with playing a style of football that you want to play. Now, I would do similar with Steve, so what I'd actually do is maybe select tactical, then go into training, go to the calendar, and then start adding stuff of my own. Just start tweaking it. For an example, like Steve said, start adding a grey physical schedule, so like endurance, resistance, and quickness, but that's in the early stuff. And then if you don't want to touch anything else, you can just quite leave the rest. But I always feel that it's beneficial having a very, very intense training schedule or regime routine in the early moments of pre-season.
Should we say as well why that matters, Tony, as well, in terms of why we do this now rather than in the midst of the season?
Absolutely. And why would you do it right now, Steve, rather than in the midst of the season? If you, is it not a great idea come January to be getting your players in the weight room going, come on, 1 rep max day,
ragging them out? Yeah. Because I think one of the things is pretty much regardless of the saves that you do, whether it's football league or if you're a club that's managing with the European campaign as well, is that once the fixtures hit, a lot of the time, if you've got 2 games a week, it's going to be recovery, rest, stuff like that. So getting your players is sort of like a sort of curve up, isn't it? For our audio listeners, I'm doing a very slightly creepy swan with my hand to sort of try and illustrate a curve. You know what a curve looks like. And once you're into it, you want your players to be not to be undercooked. You want them to be just right, as Goldilocks would say, for their physical conditioning. And you only do that really in this window.
And it also as well, because people will have done this during mid-season and went, why am I getting loads of injuries? It's because the game, although the game is brilliant and the fact it gives you a default training schedule, like it doesn't take into account the fact that you are going to be using a lot of players a lot of times. It doesn't take into account your fixtures. So if you do, and again, future episodes we'll cover this more. We're going to skirt over it a little bit now. But if you are burning the candle at both ends with training, with a heavy fixture schedule, with traveling, your players are going to get injured. So you can almost prevent that a little bit more by tweaking the schedules. Now, going back, of course, to pre-season, right? To pre-season. Now, we're starting to think about training, and we'll do sort of like some more specific examples on that. Now, for me, you two both sat there with, elite level clubs, fine, okay, right? For me, right, my training, my pre-season is, can I get some shifts off work while the kids are on 6 weeks holidays, right? That's where my players are. For me, training can sometimes come in the form of matches, okay, now pre-season friendlies, okay? That's where I get my tactical familiarity. That's where I get my endurance from. Aaron, you've got what looks like a little bit of a, oh no, I thought you had a tour set up there now, but you are specific in where you've gone for your friendlies, yeah?
Well, so when you do start a game, majority of the time there's a training camp already set up. And ours is set in Shanghai, in China, which you can cancel the training camp, but I don't really do that. I feel it's a good opportunity for your players to go out on a training camp. But you can also arrange friendlies, of course. You don't have to allow your assistant managers to do it. You could be in control of this by going to staff again, responsibilities. Under that, you go to match, and then there's a little box that you can tick or untick, and it says backroom staff to arrange friendly matches for the first team squad. If you want to select the matches, make sure that's unticked, go back to confirm, and now go back to your schedules again. And then you can kind of you can set your own friendlies, but not just friendlies. You can do tours, you can do a friendly cup, a friendly league, or you can actually set multiple friendlies at one time. Now, if you want to do a tour could be one decent way to actually earn money early on as well. So, I mean, at Arsenal, we might not necessarily need to use pre-season to get money, but just for an example, I could choose my location. Let's just go, I don't know, we'll scroll all the way down to Spain. I mean, there's a very specific reason why we're using Spain, because I know that Barcelona, if you play Barcelona, you can get decent money. So you go to similar reputation clubs, Barcelona here. So it would, the fee for us to play Barcelona would be around £458,000, but the income could be around £619,000. So you can play about with that and just kind of keep your eyes on the profit margins, if it's useful for you, if it's worth it or not.
It's worth noting as well at that point, Aaron, and again, this is for managers who are managing teams further down the pyramid.
Yeah.
That little bit of information there, the fee that it costs for that club to take part in that friendly. Now, you might be thinking as a lower league manager, League One, League Two, or something, you might think, oh, you know what? I'll get Arsenal as a friendly. That'll be brilliant. The game is going to be full. We're going to make a load of money. It might actually end up costing you most of that fee to get Arsenal to play. So you might not make as much money. You might actually make more money, as bizarre as it sounds, by playing a local, similar reputation or even less reputation side, because the fans don't have to travel too far. The fans from the opposite town will come. You could actually end up, strangely, making more money by not playing Arsenal.
Yeah, it just all depends on you, depends on the moment, the scenario, the situation. I do believe many saves are different, so this might be the figure in this save. And as you can see, I've changed from tour to a friendly match, and we can already see that the fee and the income has now changed. So again, it just depends on what you're doing and how it is for your club.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I wouldn't have thought that like the financial element of the tour or pre-season at all, really, until we sort of had this conversation. So it's not, because in real life, at the time of recording this episode, clubs are going, top level clubs are going around the world for their pre-season tours, which are just seen as lucrative. But actually, in game, in Football Manager, you really have to dig into it a bit more, don't you?
Just a quick one, just while this episode's on. I hope you're enjoying it, by the way. And if you are enjoying it, please consider hitting that like button. That'd be much appreciated. It shows us who's enjoying the episodes. And also, while you're there, why not consider hitting the subscribe button as well? You'll find out exactly when all the new episodes drop, so you'll never miss a beat. That, of course, pushes us up through the YouTube algorithm. It gets us in front of more eyes. And, of course, the more the podcast grows, the better it's going to be. There's also a little space for a comment, so leave us a comment. We love reading them, and we will, of course, get back to you as well. And speaking about getting back, let's get back to the episode. It's also, as well, I've noticed when you tick that button, Aaron, for the responsibilities of you take control of the friendly matches, what I should say to listeners, remember to check back towards the end of the season, because if that box is still unticked next season you won't have any friendlies automatically assigned. So it is worth just, and I know like we're laughing, but it is that people have come unstuck on that before, not naming any names, who may or may not be wearing a black t-shirt. I'm currently talking right now. Okay, so we've decided whether we're going to do a tour, whether we're going to make a little friendly cup or something. How many games roughly do you reckon is reasonable for pre-season?
I was looking back at the pre-seasons that I've done over my extensive career at Fiorentina, and I found a good balance. Well, it depends on how well you're doing as well, Tony, because I looked at my last pre-season and I had Bayern in the European Super Cups. You've got to, if you're, you've got to sort of include that in your fixture list if you're doing all right. I won the Europa League rather than Champions League that time, but hey. We do what we can, but so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fixtures, and I actually probably would recommend sort of 6-ish. You kind of want to have one a week at the weekend, and then sort of build from there, building up towards the season. And actually, because you'll notice in your training schedule too, what you can do is have match practice as well. So what I've done on occasion is I'll look at a weekend and I'll see that there's match practice on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'll be like, well, why don't we actually just have a friendly match instead of the match practice? Because we're getting a physical exertion, we might as well do a friendly there instead. So another thing on that, so roughly 6, but it sort of depends on the sort of the season that you're having when it starts, if there's a World Cup or a European Championship, that sort of thing. As well, if you have players that are international. What I'd add as well, the ramping up the difficulty of the clubs that you play, I found is really good. So, for example, I would divide it into 3. So the first two games you would play would be purely a physical exercise. I generally try and go for local teams nearby, just to get minutes in the engine. I'll try and do 45 minutes for players as well, for example. And it's quite nice. First couple of games pre-season, you knock 5 or 6 past a local team. Builds you up nicely. There's also a good chance to try out any tactical tweaks, big or small, whether you're joining a club brand new and you want to instill a philosophy, or whether you're more established and you want to try a player in a different role. So that's the first 2. Second 2, I'd then ramp it up difficulty a little bit more. Teams that are just underneath you in terms of quality. So it's a bit more of a challenge. And then the final couple, I would, in an ideal world, have at least your level, if not higher, to really get you as close to the sort of competitive level you're going to be entering competitive matches into as close to as possible. So again, sort of ramping it up.
And as Aaron's showing on the screen right now, you can do that. You can click on the choose button when you try and pick the side that you want to manage. You've got similar rep teams, small rep teams, you've got larger rep teams, you've got nearby teams, affiliate clubs as well. Let's not forget, if you're lucky to have an affiliate, you can play a friendly against a team where there's already an agreement in place. So that might be a bit easier for you. You were talking there about ramping the difficulty level up. Again, that makes complete sense. Aaron, I'm going to ask you a question at this point, because this is one thing that I do when I stream, and some people found it weird at first. Do you play your friendlies? Because I do.
So with AFC Wimbledon, there's actually the Football Manager Cup every year, and we play that because we want to win the FM Cup. It counts as a trophy to us, but no, I don't. I used to, and it's more for tactical reasons, tactical purposes, but now I think because I'm at the stage of playing the game a lot, I'm at the stage of, you know what, let me just skip the friendlies and get to the nitty and gritty of the Premier League or whatever league I'm in. But no, I don't play friendlies anymore. I don't.
See, I went the other way. I used to just skip them. Like when I was playing like offline, I would mainly skip them and go, it's just pre-season, it'll be fine. But I've found now, maybe as the game's evolving, and maybe I've been found out tactically, I have to spend a lot more time to try and drill this down. So I'm playing all these fixtures. Steve, what about yourself? I mean, obviously things don't change too much in Florence. Is that?
No, quite. I was just thinking about you being found out tactically. It's like, guys, I think he's going to play a 4-4-2.
Look at the size of that striker. And the other one's really tiny.
Do you know what? Probably because partly as well, I don't play the game as much as Aaron. I sort of do need those sort of 5 or 6 games for whatever changes I am or amn't going to make. So I'd like to try one thing, which again is another future episode I'm trying at the moment, is adapting players to different positions. So with partly based on our search for a star feature that we've done in previous episodes, and which will return in the future, trying out players based on their skill set that I've already got and thinking, well, I like them. Also, the thing about Serie A specifically is that the registration rules are quite tight. So if you've got an Italian player, for example, even though you could buy a player from outside the EU who's demonstrably better, it's really hard to get non-EU players in. So converting players, for example, at the moment, there's a winger at Fiorentina called Riccardo Sottil, who starts off the game as a sort of youth, quite young when you on FM23, for example. He's now 30 in my game because of how long I've been playing. So I'm looking at him thinking, he's a winger. I reckon he could play attacking wing back. So in pre-season, I'll use him there just to find out how bad or good an idea that will be. You know,
defensive winger, Steve. Defensive
winger. Oh, makes a note. Because I could basically play a defensive winger and not play a wing back, right? Oh, hello. Anyway, that's for another conversation. Yeah, so I do use those games and I play them on comprehensive highlights as well because I am wanting I don't want to I want to learn these things before points are at stake.
I love that. That's the answer I wanted, to be honest, because I figured Aaron would skip past it. I think I'm a bit more Steve on this one. Like I do play them and I do use them, especially if I'm going to a brand new club, as I have been on my saves, trying to move clubs. And I will think each club kind of has its own philosophy and its own stylistic. So I will try and watch as much of the game as I can, see how those players are fitting into what I want the club to be and how the club to play. I personally love the friendly aspect of using trialists. Free scouting. Absolutely free scouting. Bung a whole bunch of trialists on there. Look at the team sheet. Trialist A, trialist B, trialist C. No one's got a clue who you're playing against. Here you go. Have a little look. That's a little tip, by the way, if anyone manages in the lower leagues. Use your trial players. Trial them for 4 weeks. Then you get the scouting knowledge of those players. And it's not going to come out of your wage budget, your scouting budget. So there you go. Little tip for you.
That's a great tip. What is a trialist? Sorry.
Trialist. So it's free labour is what it is. Which I do not condone, by the way. But that's a good way of obviously looking at recruitment without starting to eat into your transfers and your scouting budget. Now, again, obviously, it's one of the bits that we all love about Football Manager. You get into a new club, you want to look around the squad, you want to see what you're working with, but you also want to see what's sort of underneath the hood. Like, is there players in the under-21s, the under-18s? Have there been any players that have maybe been frozen out by the previous manager? Might be sat in the reserves. You know, I know particularly when you join a club midway through the season, that's a great place to look at. Take over a new club. There's always one manager who's fallen out with a player, and the player's sat in the reserves, and you're going, we could use him. We absolutely could use him. That might be, again, another little tip for someone to look at on day one, Aaron, yeah?
Yeah. So usually you can go to your development center. It will be on the left-hand side of your menu for those listening. And then development center will pop up. And then it would have first team candidates. And that will be your head of youth development telling you, look, this player actually might be good enough to play a role in the first team squad. Sometimes that is a youngster, or sometimes it is an elder player that has been dropped by a previous manager. When you do start a game, it's very unlikely actually that you would start with anyone over the age of 21 in your under 21s. I think the game will automatically set those sort of players in your first team, and it'll be down to you to kind of filter it out. Obviously, if the elder lot are not the ones that you want in your team, then you can list them. But sometimes, there is hidden gems in that development center when you go and look, and it's like, oh, actually, this guy might be able to play a role within the first team. Currently at Arsenal, there isn't anyone. So for those seeing on YouTube, first team candidates, there's no players worth noting. But then when you go to the under 21s tab here, a whole list of players in your under 21s will pop up. You can kind of sort it out by ability and potential. And again, these your assistant telling you things and your assistant manager is only their advice, and I kind of use that as a reference. I will still, if the assistant manager or the head of youth development is telling me there's no players worth noting, I'm still gonna double check because I get the last words. And for me, I can see Amario Cozy Dewberry now within pre-season. Actually, I might want to promote him into the first team, and that allows me to do all that extra stuff like mentoring.
Now you mentioned there, Steve. I can hear that you're ready to go on this one because he's mentioned the S word, right? Don't just take those members of staff advice straight away, is it, Steve? You're straight in day one. You get all the staff in a room and you go, right, some of you might not have a job by the end of the day.
You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Genuinely.
Dominance from day one.
It's like I actually genuinely get as excited hiring staff as players at this point. Especially because just to briefly touch back on what Aaron was talking about with youth development too, I think that's particularly useful when you're looking at the sort of save that Bearded Child was talking about when you're talking about a team that you want to progress quite quickly because you might not have the budget to get in a new first team right back. And also the gap, because like Arsenal, for example, and other clubs of that level, to go from youth academy, 1.5 stars to the first team is quite a jump. And it's only going to be really like a Bukayo Saka level wonder kid that's going to make it, right? But those teams that are sort of finishing 6th or 7th and want to progress, that gap to the first team is going to be smaller, right? So that particular tip is really handy in those situations, right? When it comes to staff, I sort of, at the beginning of preseason, one of the next things that I will do is look at, not just for a new save, but also as the seasons go by, where can I upgrade my staff? Is there any better ones available? Aaron's showing us the staff section on the game at the moment, and you can see a bunch of green columns, across your recruitment team, across your medical, across your coaching. Especially in scenarios where the transfer budget is a bit tight, I would focus on the medical and coaching more than recruitment because I'd want to maximize everything that you've got. So on my Fiorentina save, if I look at my staff, what I see is a lovely array of yellow blocks, because what that means is full yellow blocks, which means that in my division in Syria, my people management is the best in Syria, my tactical is the best, blah, 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 blah. They're all the best because I've really gone for maximizing the staff. And what you'll see, if you can see it on YouTube, but for those listening, if you hover over each bar, it tells you which section of the coaching team is best. So from goalkeeping, shot stopping to handling, and all the way through to the outfield players too. So I will look at staff. We'll go into staff in more detail in a future episode, but look at your staff in terms of the sort of bullet points of things to do at the beginning of pre-season. And I'll stop there because we will do a whole episode on stuff.
We will. And there is, as Aaron's just about to click on there, the old job sent, the place a job advert. So you can be specific about a gap that you have in your coaching. You can go straight for a coach there, for example, like a fitness coach or a goalkeeping coach, where on-screen goalkeeping coach looks not as good as it is compared to the rest of the league. And again, remember, in comparison to the rest of the league. Now, there is also another little hint that the game gives you from day one when you take over a new club. There is, of course, the meeting with the current staff, who then will offer you some suggestions often for staff to bring in. So you might have a gap. You might have a gap in in say, for example, your goalkeeping coaches, and in that meeting they'll say, "Hey, maybe recruit this goalkeeping coach," and they might be great. So you might save yourself the whole putting things in the job interview and going through LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff. So again, that'll be on the staffing episode. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. So that's staffing. Obviously, the other thing we have touched about is recruitment. We've sort of had a bit of a thing of, do we go late in the day? Do we go early in the day? I mean, that's the decision, isn't it, Steve? Do you get all your recruitment done early doors? I know in real life, Liverpool, for example, are famous for getting everything done as quick as possible. The transfer window, the season's done, signings are in. Or do you do maybe lastminute.com and, we're sitting in the car park with the lights on going, it's 5 to 11. The lights are still on. They're getting a deal done.
I've just sold my best player.
Yeah. Tony, is that you? No, that's not me. Steve, where do you fall on that? Do you get things done early or are you a bit of a last minute?
So specifically for a new save, I will at least try and get stuff done as early as possible, because the logic, kind of obvious logic being that you get your players in early as possible, they integrate, etc. But in that new save, there's a lot, I know plenty of people do, in terms of what you enjoy out of the game. You can spend hours before you even kick a ball getting everything going, and that includes scouting and having a sense of the sort of players that might be out there. So it's a bit of a balance, to be honest. Ideally, I'll be sort of top targets. Let's just say I play a system that entirely depends on having an attacking right wing back, and I want that to be a sort of coming in, big money, 3.5, 3-star, 4.5-star player. That would be my sort of main priority, because if the tactic doesn't work without it, you need it. Otherwise, later in the window, I do love a bargain as well. I'm caught between two,
We all are. We all love to get it done, and then the scouts go, "Hey, this guy's available." You're like, "I don't need him, but I do need him." Like, but what you've said is interesting, and again, it sounds like a broken record. Another episode in the future. You sound like you've got the tactic first rather than working with what you've got. So that's an interesting way of doing it. Aaron, do you do it any differently? Do you like things early, or are you a bit of a sort of like, let's get a bargain at the end?
Well, I actually so the first transfer window, it's actually rare that I sign players, because if you go to the your transfers tab on the left-hand side, go to your transfer history now, there might be players that have literally just joined. So for Arsenal, it will be Trossard, Jesus, Jorginho, Zinchenko, Matt Turner, Fabio Vieira, and Jakub Kivior. Those players already need to blend in with the rest of the squad. So a team like Arsenal, it's actually rare that I would make some first season signings. But there's going to be a lot of people like, how do you know what to buy on day one? There are ways. So you can go to your squad. You can sort your squad out by your assistant and manager's reports. So you just go to your squad, and then you can change the squad view, and then down you can see reports. Your assistant manager will give you some stars with ability, current ability, and then potential. And then you have players like Zinchenko, Partey, Ødegaard, and Saka, Jesus, who are the key players. I would look to build around them, and then you can go to your tactics screen, and then you can create your own style, or you could use an assistant recommendation, whatever's nice for you. And then from there, I would go, into my dynamics page. No, it's not dynamics. But then for me, I will go into my squad planner page, go to report, go to comparisons, and this is where you can compare your team against the others in the league. And then this is where you can just very quickly see your weaknesses. So for Arsenal, our weakness would be jump and reach and natural fitness within the squad. And then you can sort of search for a player with high natural fitness and jump and reach, and you can sort of address your weakness that way.
That's my favorite screen on the game, by the way. Like, literally, I love that screen because it's really handy. Okay, so you've mentioned two really interesting points there, right? So obviously, you're both Arsenal fans. So if you're an Arsenal, then you know instantly the players who are the best players of the team. Okay?
Yeah.
If you manage a team where you don't know the players, then it's going to take that a little bit longer to get used to them. So sometimes what I'll disable the first transfer window because I kind of like the game to be classed as realistic. So I don't want teams to have done all those transfers and then add to the squads again, potentially making it a bit harder for myself, I'm aware. But I also like the idea of bedding in, doing my preseason friendlies, working out what I've got, and then trying to look for my weaknesses using this planner tab, working out what are my squad good or bad at, because that might surprise me. I might look at it and think, oh, you know what? I've got a really weak squad. But then I look at the planner and I'm going, actually, in comparison to the league, these guys are all right, you know. And the weakness is a different position or a different attribute that I thought before. So that really changes my focus on where I go. And again, I think when we get into the recruitment elements of the podcast, that's, you know, something that we can really drill down on, and then we can start to look at data and like that dynamics of the side. That's something that I've started to get into, and it really gets me going, to be honest. And you know what? I'm ready for a new season right now. I think this has got me ready for a new season.
Yeah. There's actually 2 more tips, very, very quick tips that I actually want to get out there because I think it will be very, very useful. Now, again, day one recruitment, you might actually not know who's going to come in and blend in straight away. Well, your assistant might have a good idea. So you go to your dynamics, you go to your hierarchy, and then slightly on the right-hand side, you've got your assistant's feedback. And it's actually telling me, I was laughing as Tony was talking because I just saw it, Declan Rice is likely to become a valuable leader should he join. So it's actually telling me already, look, Declan Rice, if you do sign Declan Rice, he'll come in, he will fit into the squad, and automatically he'll be a valuable leader. Or you can go to your transfers tab on the left-hand side, then go to the director of football, and then suggest transfer targets. You don't actually need a director of football to do this as well. And then if I need a striker, I just go to transfer, striker, suggest, and then boom, he's got 3 strikers for me, Mitrovic, Patrick Schick, and Victor Osimhen. Now, if you need some quick targets, this is a great way to go about it. Again, I'm going to do it for centre-backs, suggest some centre-backs, Milan Skriniar at Inter Milan, Pau Torres at Villarreal, and Kurt Zuma at West Ham.
I'm going to give you another quick tip right now because I can't resist this one. I found this out while I was streaming a few weeks ago. If you click on a player, so you click on Victor Osimhen, for example, for me, Aaron, you can request views of players similar to Victor Osimhen. So if you've got an idea in your head of going, I have a player, I know exactly what they look like, and I don't know what to filter with regards to attributes, you can click on comparison, and then under there's a little drop down that says find similar players, and then your scouts will go and find similar players that have that sort of physicality of those attributes. So that's a nice little quick scout tip for you. We've got a live show coming up on Monday, the 6th of November in Nottingham at the Canal House. It's part of the Nottingham Comedy Festival. If you're interested in coming to see the FM show live, seeing myself, seeing producer Steve, seeing RDF Tactics in person, then there's a ticket link in the description below. The tickets are priced at £5. Come and see the show. Come and hang out afterwards. We'll do a bit of a meet and greet. We'll do a bit of a chat. We'll talk FM. Bring your stories. Bring Matt Doherty if you can. But yeah, Monday the 6th of November, the Canal House in Nottingham, £5, ticket link in the description below. Get your tickets, come and hang out. It's going to be fantastic.
And those who listening, a similar striker to Victor Osimhen, Beto at Udinese, Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Everton, Diogo Jota at Liverpool, obviously Victor Osimhen, Alvaro Morata at Atletico Madrid, Ciro Immobile at Lazio, Lautaro Martinez at Inter, Haaland at Manchester City, and Karim Benzema at Real Madrid.
There we go. So I think that's pre-season just about covered. If we've missed anything and you want us to sort of address some more things with pre-season, you've got any more questions, do let us know. Obviously get in touch via all the handles we've got: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube comments, of course, Discord. It's the FM Show Pod on the social media handles. The Discord link is in the description. Or if you quite like typing stuff out in long form, you can email us at thefmshowpod. That's thefmshowpod at gmail.com. Now, we did get some correspondence this week from episode 1. Qboy3143 in Discord has asked, and this is definitely a really great question. Any chance, Tony Jameson, RDF Tactics, any chance you can do an episode on leagues/nations to be loaded when you set up a new game? I like to set up a save for a minimum of 5 seasons with the ability to move around. I've got a gaming PC, so I always try to load as many nations as possible and at least the top division in each nation with view only below selected in case I want to make the lower leagues playable later on. I've never used the quick setup option, but is it worth doing? Aaron, any thoughts?
Well, he actually touched on something important, and that's he's got a gaming PC. So he's got a gaming PC. A lot of leagues will be absolutely fine. Me, I've got a gaming PC as well. And sometimes I don't necessarily notice the difference when I'm adding and removing leagues, but those obviously with a lower end PC, for me, it's vital to obviously load the nations that you're going to manage in. The neighboring nations, you just do view only, but you can also do an advanced set up where you're loading players rather than the leagues. And for me, that makes the game run smoother. So what we could do is actually set up 2 starting files. One will be very detailed for people, and they can just download that, pull it in their game, and then they just load it, and the whole setup will be there for them. And then we'll do one for those with a lower spec PC as well, where it will just be important leagues. But you guys will be able to tweak it. So for an example, by default, I might add Premier League as playable. Obviously, if you're not playing in the England Premier League, you just change that to view only. And then the league that you are going to play in, you can just change that to playable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can tweak them as well at the end of every season. Yes. So if you are doing, lower league to top league, you might turn Premier League off for playable for 4 seasons if you're Aaron, and you've managed to jump, all that way, despite the fact you've actually got more than 4 seasons to be promoted. So you can do that later on. But I do love as well. I do love that load players from other nations as well. That really does help. You get the benefits of the players coming in. So you get, for example, your Eastern European, Scandinavian Wonder Kids. Again, spoiler alert, an episode on the way. You get all those, but you don't actually have to have those leagues generating results and transfers in the background. So there you go. So that's an idea for you, Q boy. Steve, you looked in the mailbag. We've got an email.
I had a rummage, and we've had an email from one of our Patreons, Christian Leroy from Norway. So a Norwegian listener, a Norwegian Patreon member of the squad, which of course you can do by finding the FM show on Patreon. You can join Christian there. And Christian says, "Hi, RDF, Tony, and producer Steve. Love the show." So as listeners to the previous iteration of the show will know, we have very, very easily pleased egos. So if you say, "Love the show, you're brilliant, aren't you pretty?" your email will be read out.
Just another listener telling us what a great job we're doing. That sort of
thing. Very, very easy to butter up. So there we go, as Christian has already discovered. So Christian says, "I'm a beginner at this game, even though it's been on my list for many, many years. I can't tell you how many Champions League titles I have as Hartlepool in FIFA." I feel like humble bragging of our listenership and ourselves is really a key.
I wanted to play this ages, but I've been too busy winning the Champions League with Hartlepool. I haven't got the time.
But anyway, as we know, I like FIFA. I love it. I've played it many years myself. But the manager mode type in FIFA just is nowhere near as advanced as in Football Manager. So Christian finally took the plunge and has never been as hooked on a game before in their entire life. We are right there with you, Christian. Now, in episode 1, we spoke about Aaron mentioned the South African division as being a good place to have a go as an unexpected one. Christian has tried this and agrees the goals are fantastically crazy and loves the atmosphere that you get in game 2. He's even tried the newly promoted team in Latvia, which went horribly. So Christian has done a favour there for us in terms of maybe don't try Latvia as one of your first saves.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, they didn't realise that the team that they were managing with is the only non-pro team in the entire league, which is just unfair, really. They got sacked and couldn't get another job for 6 months in game, and starting a new save after getting tired of just pressing continue and being unemployed for 6 months on the game. I can understand why. Christian's now sitting with their new laptop brought specifically for playing FM, as we were just talking about with gaming PCs. There's a section on an episode on that before, and we get a bell every time we say there's an episode in that, I think.
Comment below how many times we've said it.
Yeah.
Light bulb, bing.
Bing. So Christian's wondering how they're going to manage the injury situation at Welling United, really trawling through the English Football League pyramid system here, all the way from Norway. Final note from Christian says, RDF, the crazy 3-2-3-2 tactic works in the lower league with some tweaks. Best to all of you, Christian. Well, thanks very much, Christian. What a wonderful email. And of course, the fmshow@gmail.com is where you can get in touch if you want to give a missive of that detail and brilliance that Christian just did there. So, Aaron, 3-2-3-2. Talk us through that briefly.
It's a crazy formation. It's a crazy tactic. It was sort of... obviously, Pep gives me a lot of ideas, and we've seen Pep transform his formation last season. And it was me just having fun in Football Manager, trying that way, but with my own tweak. So I'm just, I'm the Football Manager version of Pep Guardiola in my head when I'm playing the game. So that's what I tried. It worked, but I'm actually surprised it worked in the lower leagues, because with those sort of tactics, my advice in video is always try this out with the best teams in the league, and he's just gone to lower leagues. I mean, he could be the best team in the lower leagues and still maybe possibly work, but it's just the certain players and attributes are needed for the tactic, and you might not necessarily find that in the lower leagues, even though it's all respectable to the league that you're in. So, for an example, 11 first touch might be the best first touch in your league, but at the same time, I didn't want to test it in the lower leagues because of the players' composure and concentration and stuff like that. So it's nice to hear that it is working. It's a crazy one. But we did also get a comment on YouTube from Daniel Deg 1390. I'm a big fan of managing in the leagues just outside of the top 5 and trying to win the Champions League. This year, I've done it with Celtic. Everyone's bragging today. The club I support, and Cracovia, just my mate's local team. And now trying with ADO Den Haag. In my 4th season, we are 4th in the league. Also, clubs I have some sort of connection to, but most of the time, not the one I support, like ADO Den Haag. I've been to one game and it's just like that. I just like the atmosphere and the vibe at the stadium. My problem is that normally after winning the Champions League, I get very bored as the league games become too easy. Do any of you have this problem?
I have never had this problem.
Sometimes, man, I just win the Champions League too many times, you know? Like, that is the one thing, right, on my Fiorentina save I've not been able to crack. The best I've done, quarterfinals of the Champions League, whenever I come up against a PSG or a Bayern or a United or a City, out. Just can't do it. And I've had 8 seasons now.
But that's one thing I've found that has been tweaked in the last few versions of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be really easy to win the Champions League. Like, we joke on, I did it with Blind Spartans, granted 10 years ago, but I do feel now that the game has the Champions League as a carrot, and it is a bit more tricky to win it. You can't just win the league one season and then the next year you're guaranteed to win the Champions League. Like, it does feel like there is a bit more like, I've just missed out. We've got to go again. So yeah, if you are winning it multiple times, congratulations to you. You certainly deserve our praise. Done. Yeah. But you know, if you're still reaching for that rainbow, then you know what? Keep going, everyone. We'll get there. We'll all get there together. By the end of FM23, we will all have won a Champions League. Guarantee it. Or, well, not guarantee, but...
I am intrigued by people who win the Champions League a lot. Are there any tips that you would give or advice that you would give to people that are listening? Like, how do you approach those Champions League games? Because, okay, this is not a brag, but I have won the Champions League, but it was more on the accidental side. Kind of, I was focused on the league and my head wasn't really in the Champions League. So I didn't really notice that we was winning games in the Champions League. And this all happened by accident, but it's the luck of the draw sort of thing. So I think in that, when we won it, we got like Salzburg in the knockout. Then you get knockable teams out. And then, sometimes it's the luck of the draw. At the moment I see Bayern Munich or Liverpool, it's like, for me, that's it. I've given up before I even get to the game. And maybe that's one reason why I don't win in those games as well, is that I've given up before and my thinking process it stops. Maybe.
This isn't even humble bragging. This is just bragging. Like, I didn't even mean to win the Champions League. I just popped out for a cup of tea and come back and I won 9-0. Like,
it was a moment.
We won the Champions League.
It was the moment. We just got to the quarterfinal. I just remember too. It was like, we're in the quarterfinal. I just remember going mental. I was just like, what is going on? Because it was with Everton as well, and it's like in the league we weren't doing great, and then it was just like, but we're in the quarterfinal. It kind of like made the league form sweeter.
Well, there you go. Get in touch if you've accidentally won a Champions League. I accidentally won the World Cup with, a nation that isn't even a nation.
I have never won.
How I managed that. So, yeah, well done. At the Gaming Hooligan, let's see if you've won a Champions League, shall we? At the Gaming Hooligan, sorry, not Hooligan. That's
don't cost aspersions on our viewers and listeners, Tony. I'm sure they're that cool.
At the Gaming Hooligan as well. On YouTube. Good watch this, lads. Thank you very much, Gaming Hooligan. I also had a stint in the Canadian Premier League. Love it. I'm on board already. They took charge of Edmonton FC, who were only founded in 2010. Now, crack aside, Edmonton, brilliant. My personal favourite is York United. And you know why, Steve? Because they have a Brazilian striker called William Wallace. That's why.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, you know what? They've got a striker, William Wallace. I'm in, right?
Centre back called Robert the Bruce as well, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I call my defence the Hadrian's Wall. It's excellent. So, sorry, we get back to the gaming Holigan. A few seasons in, we finished second and ended up winning the league. Mental, but first and second place have to play each other in the final game of the season as a decider, and we won. So people are winning the Champions League by accident. People are finishing second and winning a title by accident. Like, am I playing a different game here or something?
It is quite mental, isn't it? So, like, how do you prepare for a season where you don't, if you want to win the league, you don't have to finish first? Like, it's fairly difficult to prepare because you don't want to be like, oh, it's okay, we'll finish second, because then your form going into those dying games where you actually need to win, maybe a bit off. It's weird. It throws me off a little bit. That scares me.
Because obviously we're all, grew up and watching English football in the system and that sort of stuff. So it does feel completely anathema, doesn't it? The only comparison, I suppose, from English footballing system would be the teams like that finished third, for example, in the Championship. By like a point off second. And then they inevitably lose in the playoffs. And then you'll get teams that finish sixth who go through to the Premier League. It's like, no way. But it's you're right. It's a completely different mentality, isn't it?
I wonder. In fact, actually, I'm aware of one. I am aware of one other nation where you don't have to win the league to win the league. So I wonder, thinking out loud, homework, listeners, viewers, mini quiz time. What other leagues can you win the league in without being first?
Without Google.
Oh, no. You can Google.
I'm taking it serious. I've got my pen in my hand. I've got the pad here.
I'm seriously. Oh, yeah. Heaven forbid you get the right answer by not trying.
Canadian League.
Yeah. If anyone knows of any leagues where you can win the title without finishing first, do let us know. Get in touch. Either tag us on Twitter or comment on the YouTube video. Send us an email with a list for Aaron that he can write them all down, and then he can accidentally win every single division on the game. Oh, I've accidentally completed Football Manager. All right, fine, yeah.
I accidentally won a quiz.
Yeah, so yeah, do that. That's your homework for this week. I think that feels like an episode. Do we agree?
I feel like as tired and educated in footballing education as after an intense pre-season training session.
Yes.
That is excellent, Steve.
Well done. I didn't want to say anything.
I wasn't entirely sure where that sentence was going, if I'm being completely honest.
Welcome to my world. Like, I just start talking and like words just come out. So it's like, you seem to know what you were doing. Like, I let it go. Right. But as always, thank you very much for listening, for watching. If you want to get in touch, do of course get in touch via all the social media handles, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Join the Discord, which of course the link is in the description. You can email us, of course, which is thefmshowpod@gmail.com. And if you want to be part of the squad, you can come and hang out with us over on Patreon, patreon.com/thefmshowpod. That, everybody, was episode 2 of The FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. My co-host was Aaron Falloon, a.k.a. RDF Tactics. Our producer is producer Steve Hankey. We will see you all next time.